Okay, so we are back again. We are continuing with this design stripe animation that we have been working on for the rest of the week. And today we're just going to rip into it and keep going. So let's have a look at where we got yesterday. This is where we got to yesterday. We animated the end part of the elements on the cell phone screen, on the smartphone screen. And today what we're going to do, we are going to continue that along. We're going to animate this card part right here. So it's going to look a little bit like, where is it? Right here. Phone group? Is that inside there? No, that's just the phone group. The browser, that's what it is. Okay, so we're going to do this animation today. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to duplicate again. We are building by little stages. We're going to call this the browser. And what we can do is we can just turn off all the nonsense here. Globe, ribbon, thumbs down, speech bubble, menu, green cloud. Here, 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 here. You can see all the pieces of the things that we're animating. And now this is called card. This should actually be called browser. Okay, so let's have just a closer look at what this animation is doing. All right, so it's animating up like that. And then that background turns into the circle around the heart as the heart grows in. 1, 2, 3, those fade in, and then the line comes across. All right, let's do it. So there's going to be a little bit of structure change that we need to do to the group. Let's have a look at what we should do first. Well, we're probably not going to bother with the dots or the line to begin with, so those are pretty easy. The heart group, maybe we start there. Yeah, actually, let's start there. Or what are we going to do? Sometimes it takes a little bit of rethinking. Let me just see where we're at here. So we have a background. That's right. We have a background layer. And we have the heart group over top of that thing. And it's the background that animates up. Well, even though I was the one that made this animation, I made it a week ago, and it looks like I've forgotten how I did this part of the animation. So let's just give it a shot at rebuilding it. Okay. It might end up being a little bit different than I did originally. Okay, so the idea is for this thing to grow up. It's to grow up into this space, and then for the whole thing to animate down. This makes sense. Ah, yes, I know exactly how I did this. Okay, so I split this up. First, I took that path. I don't want to have this be a path, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, I'm going to insert a layer. I'm going to call that layer the background. And I'm going to drop that into the browser group. Okay, so that layer is right there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to align it to the top left. We're going to undo. We're going to press Command-Shift-R. We're going to align it to the top left of that card, just like that. Then we are going to select that card. We're going to copy its size and width. And we're going to apply it to that shape. Yeah, we're going to leave. Yeah, we're going to do that. And I suppose we could have left it in the middle, something like this. That's okay. And then this one, 257.2, we're going to grab you. We're going to come here. We're going to do this. We're going to hit enter. All right. So let's zoom in. And let's make that background color. Let's just make it a green. for that layer and 100%. And now what we're going to do is we are just going to change the radius of this until it matches. So we'll just go past by a little bit. I'm over here in the radius right here, and I went up to 50, and now I'll go down to 40, down, down, down. Just pressing down with the key. Looks like it's a 32-point rounded corner. Okay, and so now what I'll do is I will change that back to a yellow color, just like that. I think those two are identical. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so we're actually going to go and put this background underneath everything, and we're going to have that path. We're going to delete that path. I like using layers for simple things like this rather than paths, because it's nicer. All right, next thing that we're going to do, okay, so this is what threw me off a little bit, is, again, it's all about perception. And you could have all of these elements inside of the group and then expand the group and then do all these animations. But what that's going to do is it's going to create, as you're animating the size of the group, it's going to animate all the little elements inside of it. We don't need all that animation. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hide everything, leave them in the exact positions that they are, and animate the group underneath as a separate layer. Okay, so that was the trick that I needed to remember. So that's what I'm doing now. Okay, so what I'll do again is I'm going to take that background, I'm going to duplicate it, duplicate in place, and we're going to call this the heart group. I'm going to bring that into the browser. I'm going to grab the heart. Actually, we're going to bring this just underneath everything, and I'm going to grab the heart and its circle, and I'm going to put those inside of there. All right. Now that heart group, we are also going to mask it to the bounds, and we are going to give it, it already has a radius of 32. And so what we'll do now is we're going to set up the initial state of that heart, which is like this. Okay. And this one is a little bit small, something like that. And the opacity is low, like this. Oh, let's undo, undo, undo. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. We're going to start to animate before we get anywhere. All right. So, relative mode is off. Step 1. This heart group, okay, that path should be quite large. Okay. And this one should be quite small. So we can lock that, and we can just call this 10. Oh, we want to anchor by the middle. Now we'll call it 10. And we're going to turn that opacity down like that. Okay, so we have the heart group animating out. See all those little animations that happen? Yeah. Okay, so we don't need the anchor point animation to happen. And we're not going to need the X. We might need the X and the Y. We don't need the X. And we don't need the Y. There we go. Okay, and then that path, yes, that path looks good. The opacity looks good. What we're going to do with that is we are going to just make the heart animation. We're going to make the path animation, the sort of circle coming in. We're going to make that a ½ a second long. So again, I'm just going to move these. I'm going to select them all. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to say the start. The end point is 0.5, just like that. And then I'm going to make the heart animation. I'm also going to make this 0.5. but I'm just going to scale those out like this. And then I'm going to bring this back just like that. So I want it to be sort of overlapping. And then I'm going to make the opacity happen a little bit faster. Okay, so let's zoom in now, like this. And let's go like this and press Command 2. So what's happening is that circle is coming down and then the heart's coming up inside it. Just like that. Simple, right? And since we are masking inside of that heart group, it looks like the card is changing to that. Okay, so now this is a neat little trick. Visuals. Let's just move this out a bit. Like let's move it out to 0.5, something like this. And over at the beginning, we're going to make the browser heart group have a 0 opacity. We're going to take that opacity and then we're going to put it just like this. And we're going to give it a step right. All right. Now we got no heart. No heart layer until it animates in. So here we select the background layer and we make that layer's background color pink. And there we go. We're also going to bring this down to 0.5. We're going to do the same trick here. We're going to give it a step right. So what will happen is it's just going to hot swap. And then, okay, so it's pink here. And then it just swaps to its own original color there. See, look at that. See, it just swaps colors right there. And that's what's going to give us the ability to make it look like the card or the browser transforms from the browser to the circle. Now watch this. At the very beginning, we're going to grab that background layer. And we are making sure that it's centered. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to lock that. We're going to call this 10. Okay. We're going to bring these animations back like this. We're going to say it's, oh, there we go. And over here, we're also, since it's a layer, we also need to animate the border radius, and so that should go from 3.5. So it's going to go from 3, and it's going to animate to, yes, just like that. It's going to animate to 32. Wait, did that animate? Border radius is 3. Oh, that was a shadow color. We're going to go like this. We're going to press undo. Make sure that that's 3 right there. And we're going to bring this like that. Okay, so now, there. That should look nice in the corners. They should grow at the right rate. And you see that? See that? There's that technique. That's what I was trying to get to. Animate in, all the way out, and then it comes back down. Okay, so it looks like that card transforms into that circle. Let's have a closer look at it. Looks like that card transforms into that circle now. Voila! Voila! All right. Next thing we can do the dots. This is going to be pretty straightforward. The dots and the line. Easy. So these ones, we're just going to make them each, a quarter of a second long. So let's just get rid of these. Let's just make sure that this timing is good. Yeah, we need to do a little animation on the opacity as well, because it needs to start here at 0. Background. The background layer needs to start at 0 and just animate in really quickly like this. So let's give it a 1/10 of a second. There we go. Actually, what we can do, sometimes I like to do this, 1/4 of a second, but we front end the easing with a cubic or something like that. So it animates in more or less, it gets to about 90% in the first 1/10 of a second. There we go. Okay, so now let's move on to the dots. So the dots at the beginning, everything is going to be, the dots are going to be all zeros. So we say this is dot, let's call this dot 3. So we know what we're animating. So that's dot 3. This is dot 2. This is dot 1. And this is the line. So at the beginning, we want that line to have, let's just go and double click. Yep, we want the line at the beginning to have an endpoint of 0. So that is going to animate in. Just going to animate across like that. And the dots, each one of them is going to be at 0 as well. And they're just going to fade in. Almost there. This one is actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. I thought it would take a little bit more explaining to do. So let's make them a 1/4 second long, and then let's offset them all. Let's say they start with dot 1, and then dot 2, sort of centered, and then dot 3, sort of overlaps with those, like that, and then the line overlaps with the dot 3. So they're all sort of overlapping, and we will bring those out. And we will start those animating so that the first one ends at the same time as all of this stuff ends. So this is now overlapping a little bit. Let's bring it down. There we go. Let's look at it without. There we go. Let's slow that down. Animate in. There we go. Here comes the line. Done. All right. Straightforward. Let's see, where are we at? 17 minutes. Okay. I think we can do, what do we got to do? We've got to do the clouds. Interesting. Should we do the clouds today? Should we do those tomorrow? Let's do the clouds today. All right, let's get it done. And then we have 2 things to do tomorrow. We're going to do this mask reveal, which is a cool technique for this eye tomorrow. But today we're going to do the clouds. All right. So this is a neat little trick. So it looks like that green cloud comes out from the, it looks like the green cloud comes out of the blue cloud. And the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to have that cloud come out, that mini cloud, and then this one come out as well. All right. So we're going to have to do kind of the same thing. We're going to have to do something similar with groups to make this work. All right. We're going to have to put groups around things. So let's go down here. We're going to duplicate the base. We're going to call this clouds. And then let's go and do the easy animations first. Okay, so let's just do everything like we did before. We're going to turn off everything else. Actually, you know what? We don't even need this stuff. Delete, 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 delete. Get rid of that. We need the clouds. We need the cell phone stuff for context. But we don't need that thumbs up. And we don't need that card. Okay, so we'll leave that in for now. And what we'll do is we're just going to animate. So what you can see is there's 4 clouds. This cloud, this cloud, this cloud, and this cloud. So that small blue cloud 1 is actually pretty easy to animate. We are going to put its anchor point up into the top left. Oh, it already is. Haha! Excellent. And then we're going to give it a little bit of a rotation, and we're going to move it. All right. So let's start it off by saying that its rotation is -20. And that it is just sort of in a little bit. So let's take that x coordinate and then let's do something like that. Make it 581. Or even a little bit further. Something like that. And then let's turn on that smartphone just to see if it's hidden. Yes, so that's going to be hidden underneath that smartphone. The smartphone will be there by the time we animate this, so this is okay. And how long are these animations going to be? Let's say this one. Is this a nice and fairly slow? There, it's going to come in just over a second, 1.1 seconds. So let's take these two, drag them this way, and then the last thing we want to do is we want to get this nice motion of it sort of anchoring in. So we're going to bring this key value to the right, just like that. There we go. So it just sort of anchors in like that. It just sort of twists in. Slowly. Now we can do the other small blue cloud. And this one is what we're going to do is that simulated bounce back animation that we did the other day, where we say, all right, so the position, we're just going to do an X position with this one. We're going to start the position at 806. We're going to bring it back a little bit. Okay, so let's bring it back to 806. Actually, this has to be at the beginning, so let's go like here. And we're going to make that 806. All right, so now we have this animation that just got created. This one animates in just like that. Okay, so it comes in like this. And we're going to have this whole animation stop, say at about 0.7, something like that. So it'll be a bit faster, and we want it to bounce. Okay, so we want it to bounce into position. So that's the final position. Let's give it that bounce back animation, just like this. Okay, and then right at the peak, right about there, that's where it peaks. We are going to grab it. We are going to take its position, copy, paste, hit enter. I'm going to switch this one now to a back, and this one to an ease in. Ease, or an ease out, that's what I meant. So now we get this, it sort of comes out like that. But maybe we make it a little bit faster on the ease in and make that bounce a little bit more dramatic. There we go. So that's going to come out. We're playing back at 0.5, so it's more dramatic if it happens like that. Okay, so it sort of like comes out and bounces back to its original position. And you know what? I also kind of wanted to animate out a little bit differently. Let's call this, where should we get it to? Let's bring it out even further. A little bit more dramatic, just something like that. Oops. I wanted to do that actually right here. And now we're going to take that and we're just going to go up, 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 something like this. There we go. So that looks good. And even here, actually what we'll do is we're going to make the last point of this animation. We're going to just bring it out a little bit further. Just something like that, so it's sitting there nice and proper. Okay. Great. So now we do the big cloud. Okay, that's the first step, because we're going to sync the animation of the green cloud with the big cloud. The big cloud, since the big cloud is coming out from behind this, it's coming out from behind, okay? It's coming out from behind that cell phone, and it's bigger than the cell phone itself. All right, so if I turn that big blue cloud on, if I just move this over like this, okay, it's gonna peek out all around that thing. So we need a group to encompass this thing. All right, so what we'll do is we're gonna create a layer, insert this layer like this. We are going to position it in the center of that one. And then we are going to give it, we're gonna select this, we're gonna say the width is the same thing as this guy. And the height is the same thing. And then we can tweak it after if we need to, but I don't think we will. And the height is going to be this. There we go. And now we are going to drop that big blue cloud into that layer. We're going to call this the, ooh, what's going on here? Okay. That's fine. Let's just bring it back down. Not sure what happened there. A small blue cloud. Oh, it's because we did that. So we can turn on relative mode and then we can drop it in. Ah, no. Acting funny today. Okay, so we'll take that big blue cloud. We're going to move it back into its own position, just like that. That's where it was before. I was pressing Command, and this group is animating. Maybe that's why all that was happening, because there was an animation on it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to animate it by saying this layer itself, the group masks to bounds, and the original position of that big blue cloud is going to be way back here, something like that. See? And so now it's going to come in, okay, and animate to its original place. So now we can overlay it like that. We actually might need to bring it down a little bit. Let's undo. Relative mode off. Now bring it back. Okay. So there's that animation. Let's drop it behind the smartphone. Oh, not into, but behind Travis. Thank you very much. And then let's just have a little peek right here. So it's peeking up a little bit over the top there. So we're just going to press Command-Shift-R. We're going to grab that group, make sure we have it. And we are just going to change its Y value by a couple of points, just so that it looks like it's fully behind that cell phone. All right. So that's coming out like that. Good. Good. Easy. And let's play with the timing just a tiny little bit here. Let's grab that big blue cloud, and then let's shorten it by saying it starts, oh, maybe it starts like around 0.2 and ends around 0.9. Okay, so it's something like that. Okay. Now here is the fun part, the green cloud. What do we do with this guy? Well, we are going to drop it into a layer. We're going to make a layer first, and it's going to be our masking layer, okay? And let's go and create that layer. We're going to insert the layer. We are going to turn on relative mode because we're just going to do a bunch of positioning. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to make this pink. Oops. Relative mode. Pink. On the layer, not on the scene. There we go. Now, let's press Command 2, zoom out once or twice, And we are going to make this layer nice and big. And then we're going to try and match its curve. And this is just like getting into some pseudo masking, which is kind of neat. We're going to mask its curve to that blue layer. So let's go with that radius. That's not the right radius. This is the right one now. And let's just increase it. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. 120. Let's call it 120. And then let's bring this out like that. And then we're going to go in here. And now we're going to zoom in a little bit more. And so what we want this, the curvature of this to be as close as possible to this right here, like that. See this? I'm just going to move it into place a little bit. We're going to tweak that layer so that it has 130. Just something like that. Now, it's not super great, but what we'll do is we're just going to move this underneath the group for now to see how that works. So maybe we make it 110 and bring it up again. Let's change its opacity. Okay, I think I'm making a bunch of animations, but it doesn't matter. We can get rid of it in a little bit. That's looking tight right there. We got this awkward thing that's happening right here, so maybe we can even get it a little bit tighter. I'm gonna bring this down like that. And that is looking super tight to that cloud shape right there. At least perceptually, it's going to be tight enough for what we're trying to do here. Cool. Let's make it 112. No, we make it 109. Yeah, something like that. So the edge of that cloud isn't perfect. I mean, we could tweak the cloud, but big deal. Okay, and then we'll bring this up. And that's exactly where we want that layer to be, just like that. So what I'm looking at is the edge here. Are the pink and the blue overlapping, and they're pretty close to one another. So we're going to take that now. Relative mode is off. Oh, relative mode is back on. We're going to increase that opacity again, right up to 1. Turn relative mode off. We're going to drop the green cloud into that layer. We are going to turn relative mode on again. Select the layer. And we are going to change its background color to clear. Relative mode off. This is the final position of that green cloud, which is super cool. And to begin with, what we're going to do is we're going to go out like this. Grab you. Turn that group to mask the bounds. Grab that green cloud and move it out. So now, okay, that green cloud is coming in from that position. And all we need to do is sync that X position. Well, we can get rid of the Y position. We sync it with the end of this animation, right like that, see? And so now that comes out and that comes in like this, and we have our nice layer. And then let's just make this a little bit longer, something like this. Oh. Make it out 1.6. Okay. There we go. And so this is how we are able to get this nice layering effect of getting this pseudo mask thing happening. Let's just break it out like this. And let's slow that down just so you guys can see it. Right on. There we go. So it's nice. So instead of thinking about this being it's a mask and figuring out how to get that blue thing underneath or appearing to be underneath and the green one to be appearing over top, what we do is we just split it up into different layers and then sync the edges of their masking layers, basically, or the group and its bounds. Okay. All right. So that was a lot of stuff that we just did. Bunch of little steps. So now tomorrow we have one last thing to do, we're going to look at the eye technique. And that's a really cool one where we're making and it's going to be different than this one. So this one, we have a blue layer coming out and a green layer going over top, and they're sort of sandwiching the cell phone. But the eye is really cool because what it does is it actually comes out from behind and then goes in front of. And I'll show you how to do that tomorrow. And that one's relatively easy. It just takes a little bit of thinking about how you're going to structure the animation. And then we're going to stitch everything together and we're done. All right. See you tomorrow.